So my wife answered it. And there was an irate police officer shouting at the top of his voice for her to open the gate. So she basically froze. And she didn't open. So I went inside and I tried to phone these guys who had been working with, and the senior guy, and his phone was continuously busy. To try to say to him, look, this is what is happening. Who are these guys? Anyway, eventually these guys were banging on the gate.
Wow.
So I said to my wife, open it. And they opened. And these were not uniformed police officers, by the way. And there were 4 of them driving a BMW. Civilian numbers, everything. So they didn't want to come into the house, by the way. And they asked for me to go out. So I said, no, okay, let me change. So I went into a tracksuit. And I went into their car. So I'm sandwiched in between at the back. And they took me to Marlborough police station and left me there. And they said to the guys at Marlborough, keep him, you can lock him up. So, and I'm saying, but what have I done? So after a few minutes, this guy says, okay, you've got too much clothing, so you've got to...
You're spending the night.
For doing what?
Yeah.
So anyway...
How long were you in there?
No, I was in there only one night.
One night.
I think I was fortunate because these guys had no justification at all. So I phoned my lawyer, and he said, okay, that's fine. He came, visited us that night with my wife. And then, but I'd been locked up already, and they had to take me out of the cells. And that's a different experience, by the way, Trevor. You go in there, and this is in pitch darkness. First thing is you don't know who is in there. You don't know the size of the room. So as I walked in, and the policeman bolted the door, I said to myself, Willard, you have to survive. And this was interesting, a lesson which we had been imparted on us by a colleague who said to us, and we were fishing in Caribbean, I remember that very vividly. He said to us, gentlemen, any one of you can be a candidate of the state because of your positions. Just remember that, prepare for it. And I remembered that, and I said, okay, so I'm going to survive. So I started talking, because I didn't want to stamp on other people.
How many were you? How many were you?
I didn't know when I walked in. It's the dark. Trevor. So I started, and the guy, I asked the question, gentlemen, I'm here to join you. Where can I find somewhere to lie down? And the one guy responded and said, just walk straight, and when you get to the end of the building, turn left. Now, you don't know where the building is, so I was walking with my hand like that. So I go to the end, I turn left. So this is 10th of July, 2007, cold. So, and I said, well, gentlemen, I need a blanket. It's too cold. So the guy who was in charge, who I found out was in charge, was a pastor, but in jail. So he said to his colleague who was nearest me, please, can you give him...
So he's a fellow prisoner?
He's a fellow prisoner. But he had been detained as well for whatever. He had committed something wrong anyway. So eventually he said to the other guy, give him some blankets. So he gave me some blankets. And I lay on that bare floor, angry. And I couldn't sleep. The following morning, we are taken out for a parade. And now I discovered, in fact,
I'm laughing because it's a bit strange and funny.
I was tired, I was angry, but I had been talking to this guy. It was only one guy talking, by the way. So I had to ask him, how many are we? So he said, we were 5 before you, now we are 6. So anyway, eventually, the following morning, I discovered when we were on parade that he was the leader of those people in cells. And when you get into cells, you create status. So eventually I got called to the police charge office because my lawyer was now there. So I left these other 5 guys. And when they saw the officer commanding, the officer in charge of the Marlborough police station, and he was furious because he said, "Who are you?" So I said, "Well, I was brought here." And he was now trying to penalize his officers. So I had to intervene, and I said, "Officer, can I speak, please?" So I said to him, "These guys, it's not their fault.
I was brought here.
I was brought here and they tried to phone you, and your phone was engaged. I could hear, I could see your officer trying to, but you couldn't get through."
When you reflected that now, I mean, this was one of the most chaotic times of our lives. The chaotic land acquisition, and then the price control.
The price control.
You spend a night for allegedly breaching the price control. What goes through your mind?
I think it's what goes through my mind, Trevor, is I think a system which really has no respect for human rights. You punish your citizens for no reason, because I done nothing wrong. And I wasn't the only one. There were many who were arrested. There were many branch managers from OK who were arrested. When we got to the investigations department in Robson, Manyika, I found so many of the guys there, and I felt sorry for them. But I was clear in my mind that this is a passing phase. It's unnecessary for this country, and we will survive. So, and the police officers who had picked me up, I didn't recognize them, but they recognized me because they came there. And 2 of them came and started talking to me, and they said, "Who are you?" So they told me who they were, and I was angry with them. And they said to me, "Look, Mdara, we are under instructions."
Wow.
Simple.
That's what they always say.
So in the end, Trevor, it was a lesson where you say, but as a country, it's unnecessary. We don't need that. Even all the evidence which came through was OK was completely complying. But there was another.
I suppose at that time you were chairman of the Retailers Association.
I was the chairman of Retailers.
So they were sending a message to
and I'd been pre-warned, Trevor, by the way, by one of the guy who was then chairman of the Pricing Commission, the first one, who was fired after a few weeks. And he spoke, called a meeting, spoke about it, and said, we are going to show that we've got teeth, and we'll go for the big fish. I was sitting there with him talking like that. And he happened to be one of our suppliers, believe it or not.
Wow.
And I said, well, I didn't understand what he was talking about. But effectively, they wanted me as an example because they wanted the retailers to comply. But they didn't need to do it because some of us were complying.
But they have the power, they can still do it.
Correct.